If you like this video, hit that subscribe button. I put out new Storybook Brawl videos every single day at 9:30 p.m. EST, and turns out most of you guys aren't subscribed yet, so what are you waiting for? I'm a pretty small channel, so I do also pay a lot of attention to comments and likes, so let me know what type of content you guys want to see. Enjoy the video. What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we're going to look at a fun Hoard Dragon game that starts with a pretty interesting decision in this first shop. You definitely want pairs as Hoard Dragon, but if we just lock this shop, then we'll just be casting like Shrink Spell and picking up a Wizard's Familiar next turn. So I'm actually going to do something that I don't do incredibly often, and that is just Shrink Spell and lock. And it's partially because I don't think a 1/1 Wizard's Familiar is really going to be winning me this first combat anyways. Yeah, anything that I purchased would have lost to the GOAT, so might as well just lock the shop here. This allows me to just purchase the rest of this shop. A little bit awkward that we won't be able to use the spell. Would have loved like a free roll or something there. Could potentially lock the Eeny Meeny. It's a fine spell. The only thing that I think would be better would be another Shrink Ray, but I think Eeny Meeny is fine enough. But Hoard Dragon is really known for assembling the most powerful collection of treasures in the game, and there's really not more powerful treasures than just HatBall, Crystal Ball plus Merlin's Hat. And even though those are 3-cost treasures, I've actually found that trying to force HatBall on Hoard Dragon is a pretty good strategy. I can't really remember off the top of my head if I have other Hoard Dragon HatBall videos on this channel already, so I figured I would upload this one. I'm sure that I do, but I couldn't find any in a quick search, so yeah, we're going to be looking at Hoard Dragon HatBall, and basically with this pair of Wizard's Familiars off the rip, I am going to be trying to force HatBall as much as I can in this game. One of the reasons that you're able to do that with Hoard Dragon is because the pairs, or the triples that you are assembling, only cost 2. So you think about Wonder Waddle is another hero that sometimes likes to force HatBalls. You combine those donkeys and stags and pigs and try to get some HatBall things going. And it looks like my opponent could potentially do the same thing. They've got 1 Wizard's Familiar. It's just funny how similar our boards are right now. We are just going to barely win this combat here with a Mad Mim remaining on the board. But Wonder Waddle takes 6 gold to make a tier 3 treasure. Well, Trophy Hunter's the same. It costs 6 gold to combine 3 2-cost units. So that is exactly what we're going to go for. I think Shard of the Ice Queen is good enough here, plus we've got some other pairs that we could potentially be making. So this looks like a great start. I am going to take an egg here, I believe, just because it costs 2, and I just want to round out my board just in case. But yeah, I'm going to be looking for pairs on the Black Cats. I'm going to be looking for pairs on the Wizard's Familiars, of course, and all throughout that time I will be collecting tier 3 treasures. If it doesn't work out, then we can always pivot, and potentially sometimes you change once you see what treasures you get. If you get just treasure map, then you might want to just go for something bigger, like try to connect on some 4-drops, but until that happens, you're doing pretty good. My opponent awkwardly just not taking their Drac bonus there. They would have gotten a bunch of free stats on their Shadow Assassin, but I guess they were just moving things around in the last second. We are going to lose our egg, unfortunately, but that means we get even more gold with the Kitty Cupper, so honestly, it makes up for it, and we didn't wind up losing the combat. You do have a little bit of extra health with the Hoard Dragon, but I'm basically going to throw away that extra health with this Forbidden Fruit, plus losing that first combat. So that is gone. We are just going to roll for some 2-drops, and Golden Chicken seems good as any of them. Could see taking Blind Mouse, but this isn't really a Blind Mouse game. We are specifically doing something here, and that is looking for some Hoard Dragon treasures. I feel like I could cut the kitty cut purse, buy the chicken, and then sell the chicken and purchase Cinderella plus Crafty, or I could just lock this shop. So that's a pretty close one, but I don't really want to give up my 3/5 kitty cut purse. It did well for us last turn. It earned us 2 gold. So selling it for essentially 2 gold this turn feels a little bit, I won't say reckless, but yeah, it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful for the kitty cut purse to sell it after it just did such great work for us. So these Wizards Familiars are now going to be doing some good work for us on this battle, and there you go. The kitty is able to slay, and the chicken is able to tie the combat up against Loki, which allows us to win because of the Mad Mim. So yeah, here we can buy the golden chicken, looking for a hat or a ball, but we can settle for a Sark. Sark is another really good way to play Hoard Dragon, and basically like the way that you could pivot here is you could go Sark and then you could go like Mimic, look for that, but we're still going to try to get this Hoard Dragon off the ground right now. I don't think I'm going to sell my chicken. I think I'm just going to go for the kidnap here, because we will be able to then grow our Wizards Familiars and cast a spell for Cinderella. So it is worthwhile to be just casting spells, but it actually looks like I'm going to roll. That's funny. I thought that I kidnapped, but I think I will sell the golden chicken to Eeny Meeny after buying another golden chicken, and this gives us a Vampire. Might as well throw this Vampire in and cut the Black Cat. We do want to play the Black Cat, actually. Okay, yeah, so I reconfigure my units in this way. I want to play as many evil units as I can because the Sarcophagus will allow us to just win some combats. We still have 2 different pairs, and then we also have a Cindy, all of which will give us tier 3 treasures. And basically the point of Hoard Dragon, HatBall is that these tier 3 treasures are so cheap, so easy to come by, like I said. So that is the plan here, and hopefully this Sarcophagus can also carry us, but that egg is going to make this combat a little tough. I don't think we can win this one. Maybe if we get really lucky. Okay, so we got rid of all the sheep. That's actually pretty lucky. That means that our Sark could trigger and at least kill the egg, so it's something. I mean, it wasn't a real egg, it just meant that we took 1 less damage. There's a pair of unicorns here. I don't hate that. I also don't hate the Bearded Vulture because we've got so many animals, including the Wizard's Familiar and the Kitty Cut Purse. Those are also animals, but I think I just want to keep on rolling. Masquerade Ball is actually fine here, though. We get 2 looks at 5s, and we are able to find an Aeon, but Siren's good too. But it also obviously pumps up our Wizard's Familiars and takes down Cinderella. Yeah, I think I want to pick up both the Aeon and the Siren. It's pretty tempting, because we just hit level 4, and these are tier 5 units, so they're pretty strong. We're not casting another spell this turn, so we don't really need the Aeon right now, but if we pick it up, that means that we will be able to slay with it and then get cheaper spells next turn. That unlocks Cindy. We could potentially be hatballing as quickly as next turn. And after thinking about it a little bit more, when I start to see all of those pieces align, I realize maybe I don't actually need this Siren, so we are just going to let that go by and see how much we can do with the Aeon. As long as we can get down that doubly a little bit more, which looks like we will be able to do so, it does look good for our ability to slay with our Aeon here. Unfortunately, though, we kill them before we even get to attack with Aeon, so we are not going to be able to slay with Aeon. That is really awkward. Definitely could consider the gingerbread party there, but not going to go for it. I do think that we have to go for this Spellweaver, though, and this Merlin's Test. That seems really good. So we'll pick that up. We will put the Merlin's Test onto the Aeon. That's going to give all of our mages +1 attack. It's also going to give us a tier 3 treasure. And we're going to go with Merlin's Hat instead of Treasure Map. Treasure Map, always tempting on Hoard Dragon. It means that if we were to triple a tier 5, we would get a tier 7, but we've got a bunch of tier 2s that we are very close to tripling. So do have to figure out exactly if we're able to put this Spellweaver in this comp, but let's roll for now, see if we can find another kitty or black cat or wizard's familiar. Instead we find a golden chicken, and we're just going to put that in. This time I am going to be making sure that our Aeon slays, so I am just going to be putting the Aeon in the first position there. Can't cast this Cat's Call, that would be really insane with the Sark, but the Merlin's Test will also be really good and will keep our spells cheap in the future. And yeah, then next turn we're going to hope to eventually create a tier 3 treasure. So Earthquake is going to wipe out all of our cats, but that is going to mean we get some Sark triggers. That is still going to allow Copycat to attack. So a lot of stats here for them. I think we might lose this combat because that is quite the triggers. Okay, only one of the friendly spirits went on another friendly spirit, so we just have to deal with this Lady of the Lake, but it's a ranged unit, so we are not going to be able to get through this one. It gets pretty close. We're like 2 triggers away. If the friendly spirit just went right onto the Lady of the Lake and not onto the friendly spirit, then that would have meant that we won that combat, because my opponent would have had just a few less stats here. I believe that that's true. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch. But we're rolling here. We need to find a crystal ball so that we can make use of all of these spells that we are just rolling past here. Definitely a little bit awkward. We can Mix-a-Wazzle on the Vampire. That's totally fine. Copycat isn't really good enough. Mad Mim is potentially worth considering, but we don't want to sell these chickens because we've got 2 chickens as well, and now we will be able to triple up on the chickens. So here is the chickens. We see treasure map plus cloak plus deep stone mine. If we take this treasure map, we can't ball, so it's really awkward. I don't remember what I do here. Do I just take cloak to give my Mad Mim +3/+3? Wow, I do. Okay, and then I sell golden chicken. I guess I could buy that spell. All right, not going to go for that. I have to go for Genie's Wish here, right? Okay, Genie's Wish into Wish Upon a Star. Okay, that's why that was confusing to me. And then we just keep rolling. We don't get to lock a Spellweaver in time, but we still have Black Cat and Wizard's Familiar as live hits to find tier 3 treasures. That's why I really did not want to take that treasure map there. Yeah, just couldn't be convinced to doing that. Does look like we are going to be slightly awkward for this combat. We really do need our Spellweaver to put in a lot of work. My opponent getting some free slays over top of us. We're going to take 9. You know what? Taking 9 isn't that bad. We were at 31. We were at 2nd place in the lobby. We just lost to 1st place, which is always a little bit annoying, but I think that we are still going pretty strong. Here is the Black Cat. We don't get too much out of this, but Sting is definitely better than Cloak of the Assassin, so I will throw that in. And then I do think I'm just going to roll. Cat's Call is kind of insane, so I could take Cat's Call there, but I am going to take a Sporko, because Sporko's a mage. So I will then sell that, throw in the Spellweaver, cast a little spell there, and then we're done for the turn. So we definitely still need a little bit more work to make this all work. Okay, interesting, thinking about throwing the Aeon in the back and just leading with these ranged units. I think that this is fine. I think that this is somewhat respectable. But I do think, I mean, it's better to have your ranged units attacking first, but I also do think that it's really good for us just to have this Aeon attacking. We're not going to be level 6 next turn. We're only going to be level 5, but we will get the Slay there, so even a little bit, a few more cheaper spells can definitely go a little bit of a way here. Did I lose my camera? Nope, we're still good. All right, and we're really just counting on this Ancient Sarcophagus plus these Spellweavers, and we're getting decent hits, I think. We're able to take out Sporko there, and then we will wind up tying, but not too shabby, all things considered. And now we just need to finally upgrade these Wizard's Familiars. Honestly, it's pretty awkward. you have to remember, we picked up these Wizards Familiars and that first Black Cat all on turn 2. So to only be able to triple them once we are hitting tier 5 here, almost leveling up into 6, is pretty awkward because we've been rolling for them all game and just haven't been able to find them. We are going to True Love's Kiss the Black Cat into a Nutcracker, so this is going to give us a tier 4 treasure. Yeah, just awkward that we had to hold on to the Wizards Familiars for so long. But we'll keep rolling here, taking a look for some Wizards Familiars. I guess we'll pick up some more chickens, and if we can find these Wizards Familiars, eventually we'll be able to start getting some more stats onto them. I think that it didn't really work out well for us this game, just in terms of trying to force the HatBall strategy. And that can still happen. This is kind of a low roll, but you can imagine how much I would be in a good position if I was able to get there. And honestly, like, we're still doing fine, despite the fact that I wasn't able to put it together. I believe we wind up losing... Oh, no. Okay, yeah, we win this combat because of the... well, I mean, we just had enough there, too, but with the sarcophagus trigger, we wind up being in a fine spot. I think I'm thinking of another game. We pick up a second Aeon, and then roll. I then wind up tripling a second copy of Golden Chicken and am able to get the Crystal Ball. So from there, I can toss the Sting. We'll hang on to the sarcophagus for a second, and now finally, we are hatballing. We don't have the Wizards Familiar just yet. I'm going to throw away the Nutcracker. We don't need that, and then I'm going to sell the chicken and begin to roll again. We'll pick up the Spellweaver, look for a fork. Could take the 6 of Shields as well, but let's just skip and then cast a few more spells. Go for a Witch's Brew. Gingerbread Party don't love as much, so let's keep rolling. Cat's Call's fine. It means that I'm not going to lose, but I'm up against the Ghost, so I could see just continuing to roll here as well, but I'll just take the Cat's Call, put a few more stats onto my other units, and yeah, it's tough to find a place for the Chupacabra in this comp too. I think I do like it pumping the Sporco and my other ranged units. Can't really lock this shop either because I do not have anything to cast that Sugar and Spice on. So I mean, I could buy something and cast the Sugar and Spice on that. It's just not like immediately that powerful. We will be slaying with the Chupacabra here. And our Wizards Familiars are still pretty big. Again, we are up against the Ghost, so I'm not like super worried about this combat. Plus, we've got the Ancient Sarcophagus Cat's Call, so not really too likely for us to lose, but we will be... it gets pretty close here with the Dwarves. We actually do tie. That's pretty incredible. Like I said, we don't have that many stats because we still haven't combined these Wizards Familiars and we're still lacking a little bit. I do have to consider if I want to combine these Sporcos, maybe we could find a Mimic or something like that. Don't really want to dream when I am Hoard Dragon because we still want to replace this sarcophagus at some point. Yeah, this isn't like the worst place in the world for us to be. I do think that we will be able to purchase this Storm King here, so that's pretty sweet. That's a 46-46, but 46-46 isn't that strong for the stage of the game that we are at, so definitely a little bit awkward. This is a lockable shop, and we, interesting, not for the good boy copycat, but it's a lockable shop just for the Feed the Kraken, and we'll like purchase the Minotaur and feed the Kraken it. So that is fine. But yeah, we definitely don't have as much stats as we could have if we had gone for... Or not if we had gone for. We didn't, I don't think, make any mistakes, but we just got a little bit unlucky in finding the puzzle pieces that we needed. So I think it just means that we're a little bit behind on stats, and that is going to impact our ability to do strong things as we move into the late game. I do think that we are okay here with our ranged units being just about as big as their Echo Wood here, and then actually, yeah, Wizard's Familiar is going to trade with Shoulder Fairies. That could have been a close one. I mean, it was a close one. We tied. So yeah, pretty close all things considered. We'll buy the 3 Blind Mice just to eat it. That gives us just some extra gold and extra stats going into the turn. Eventually, maybe we can combine these Wizard's Familiars and do something with those. All right, we're also looking for True Love's Kiss at this point, and we will combine the Aeon. Pandora's Box. Feel like you gotta go for that one, right? Spear is fine, Ivory Owl is fine, but if we can get the Black Prism, then we can all of a sudden just get a ton more stats out of nowhere. Again, we're going to feed the Kraken, then we're going to go for a Drink Me Potion, and we roll a few spells in this shop, but not really too many, and most of them aren't really castable, so we'll just cast one and continue to move on. Again, we feed the Kraken, then we get the True Love's Kiss onto the Angry, we get an additional health, the Angry turns into a Lordy, we get one more health, and then we can lock a Storm King. So pretty good turn all around. The Lordy isn't going to be doing too much for us, but we'll just replace that with a Storm King next turn. Hopefully we can get something huge out of the Pandora's Box with 2 Storm Kings. Mirror, Mirror now also starts to look a lot better. We do get a really unfortunate zapping there, and the Lordy is really not looking too good for us. I think we're actually just going to be losing this combat. Yeah, we're not going to be able to get past this Shoulder Fairies. We're going to take a little bit of damage here. Even a little bit more than a little bit. That's fine. Yeah, if we'd hit the Baba Yaga, we could have saved ourselves 3 health, but only taking 10 isn't the worst thing in the world here. And we get a Round Table. So I don't think Round Table is exactly what we wanted, but it is actually pretty good. And the fact that we have all of these huge attack minions from the Aeon means that now everything will also be able to get a little bit more health. I do think it's potentially worth considering a Dream spell there, but we are going to decide against it. We'll Devour the Kraken yet again. We could buy a Prince or Princess. I think that purchasing Ogre Princess in particular could have been really good there, because it would have been both a princess and a monster. But we're going to do some other stuff. I looked away for a second and sneezed, and then eventually cast a Fog. And yeah, don't get me wrong, like the Round Table definitely adds to the stats on the board. It gives both of these Wizards Familiars like an additional 60 health, gives Aeon a whole bunch of health. It means that my Spellweaver can no longer just get zapped and totally give away all of its stats. My opponent does have a double Pigomorph as the Ghost. That is pretty crazy. That is just with a mimicked deck of many things. So pretty crazy RNG there for them, but it's not going to matter because our Spellweaver is just huge. And here we can see where all of our Wizards Familiars went. That's why we're having such a difficult time finding them. But we're looking good. We're on to the finals. We've got Gigantify here now. The health doesn't matter. It's really just about putting that additional attack onto everything. So, from the Aeon cast. So yeah, we're just throwing that there. We really should think about picking up a tree or a monster or something like that at some point. I also could potentially pick up a Spellweaver because we are so close to doubling 2 different things here. So yeah, that's definitely like a consideration. But for right now, we're just going to go for True Love's Kiss on a Lordy. We find a Gumblegore, which is not bad, but it's not going to be better than anything that we have because Sporko is a monster. I will be able to combine a Wizard's Familiar here, and I'm just going to have to skip this treasure. Treasure map is obviously super tempting. Not super tempting, though, on on Hoard Dragon at this point in the game, because like the next thing that we're slated to triple is Storm King. Gumblegore actually does kind of do an interesting thing. It gives us additional health on our Storm Kings, so kind of cool here. But my opponent is rather huge. We're going to be doing some trades with them, and I think we win this combat pretty handedly, but they're scary. They're definitely scary, and they're just getting more stats throughout. but we will be winning this one. And starting off here, 34 to 14. We're going to hit them for 12, but it seems like we've got a decent battle ahead of us. So buckle up. We've got a game to play. And you can see definitely a mistake too, just how big those Spellweavers, if I had picked up any of them, would have been able to grow by the end of all of this. So that winds up being, I think, a little bit unfortunate. Because we are going to wind up playing a few more combats even against this opponent, and it would have been nice during that time to just have a Spellweaver also gaining some stats. Here I could dream. Do I dream here? I don't remember dreaming, but okay, apparently I do, and I can give all of my characters +5/+5. I can get the first attack each brawl. That seems like it's got to be the best thing for us here. That would allow us to potentially pick up another ranged unit or something too. So I'm going to go for Sadrak. And yeah, I do kind of like something like putting Spellweaver in the first position just to make sure that we get our first attack with it. I'm really not sure if I want to lock for that health potion there or not. That is a really tough call. But we will get the first attack. We won't get the kill. But our Stormweaver is now bigger than Jormungand. So that's going to make things really tough for my opponent. But you can take a look. Their backline has now been replaced. They've taken out the Riverwash Mermaid, and they've just put in another Shoulder Fairy. So that means their Echo Wood is even bigger, and that is going to result in them winning this combat. We'll drink a healing potion here. Hopefully that could save us if we get a little bit more health. Even just with the little amount of health that we've been able to gain. I do think I want to put Spellweaver in the first position because I do think it will just be a little bit more likely to get a kill onto something, and then we'll be able to cast a few more spells here just to... Oh, I guess Jormungand is or Gumblegore is a monster. That is kind of cool. Could see casting that. Not really great though, but... Yeah, we do want to keep growing, so I don't think that we want to cast that spell. I would have cast it on Gumblegore if Gumblegore was a good unit, but it is not. So we're just going to keep rolling. Nothing that we can do with these ones. We cast the Shrink spell here for fun. Honestly, I think that the play is potentially still to lock this Stormweaver and get another unit, because it's going to be really awkward if I hit a Storm King and then unable to cast it. So I definitely want to consider that. I do also kind of want Aeon in the front row still, just to give it a small chance of being able to cast a discounted spell. That would be really sweet. We do snipe the dragon. Not that the dragon is even that good for my opponent. And then Aeon gets a nice little combat there. We're in a pretty good spot on this one, but we don't get a huge hit with that Sporko. Honestly, it's still a pretty big hit. I mean, we win the combat, so cannot complain. Hit the pup for 7. And now I pick up a Spellweaver. So definitely could have benefited from picking one up earlier. I could even still use another one because I want to be able to combine these Storm Kings if given the opportunity to do so. So I'm going to put any spells that I find onto this Spellweaver just so that way we can try to potentially grow it, but... I don't know, maybe I should be playing one of these Pigomorphs. They're definitely worth considering, and once we roll into one on the end here, I am going to wind up casting it, and I am going to put Gumblegore back in because these Spellweavers are just not big enough yet right now. I am going to move our huge... What is it called? Wizard's Familiar to the first position right now, and hopefully that will be good with that. But it's tough. My opponent is scaling. Pup is scaling pretty hard right now as well with us, and yeah, that's scary. It's funny that they're still Pup and they're playing with the horn, like they're playing a good, honest Pup game. So good for them, but we want to put an end to their game. All of these battles have been really close. Pigomorph is going to hit something in the back there. We kill the Shoulder Fairies. Jormungand is still no good. Wizard's Familiar is going to 2 for 1, and then how can we deal with these Echo Woods? yeah, we're going to deal with them with our ranged units. So that is pretty nice. We get to hit for 13, down to 3. So 3-9, a really, really close game this has been. Going to try to pump up the Spellweaver just a little bit more, but you know what? Knighthood on Storm King, that's a lot of stats. So I do think I am going to go for Knighthood on Storm King. Doesn't really matter which one we go for necessarily. They're both going to be quite large. So yeah, shouldn't really matter here. I'll just go for a Knighthood there. And then I guess I will cast a Falling Stars just to get another mage trigger from Aeon. And that means now that we don't have to worry about combining anything. Basically, we're locked. We're going to be playing these units for the rest of it. And I actually decide to sell the Spellweaver just to try to roll and hit some additional stats. Like, this could be the last combat of the game. If I'm not playing Spellweaver this turn, when am I ever playing it? So I think that that is a pretty reasonable call. We're going to move this new huge Storm King into the second position. And we're going to hope that this was enough stats. 10 coin just to upgrade one Storm King? I'm not sure. That honestly could just be a mistake. We could look at how much additional stats I get just from spending a turn's worth of coin on casting spells, and then we could compare that to what does it look like with a turn's worth of coin on just being spent on that upgrade. And that could definitely be a little bit of an awkward choice there for us. I do think this one's going to be close, but oh, we're going to lose. Oh, if we had won that 50-50 at the end. So we're going to take 7, go down to 2, and it looks like those 2 extra life points that we received off of those whatever they're called, health potions wind up working out, and we're going to find another health potion there even so. I do go for another upgrade onto the Storm King, as we did have to play another shop out here though, and again, I'm not sure if that's right. Let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll look at the math, see how much we were growing on these other turns. I think I will do that after this game. Let's see how much we were growing when we were just casting spells for the turn compared to when we just cast this upgrade, and see if that might have been a mistake. But we do have some pretty large units. We're still getting the first attack. The Spellweaver is pretty big as well, but my opponent's huge, so we'll have to see if that is really a problem for us or if that's actually okay. I also haven't looked at my opponent's treasures at all during this video, but looks like right now just Drac Saber and Singing Sword, so they probably had like Ambrosia or something like that. And this Rotten Applewood that just came out here is going to trade with our newly upgraded Storm King, so that is pretty awkward. We missed the attack there on the monster book, but the ranged attack, as long as we don't get scammed by this spell, alright, we're going to trade. So this is another tradey turn, and now we've got these upgraded Storm Kings. If we just spend this whole turn rolling and casting some spells, we could make some really great things happen. So we're going to roll, we're going to look for some spells to cast. That doesn't really do anything for us because then we're no longer getting mage buffs, so I don't think I should cast this Shard of the Ice Queen here. Should probably just continue to roll. It's certainly tempting, could also buy the Unicorn and cast it on that, but after one roll we hit a Magic Research, so that winds up being fine. We'll throw that onto a Storm King, then we get a Gigantify, and we wind up getting a few more stats this turn. Not too many. But yeah, like here you can see what happens when you just spend your entire turn's worth of gold on rolling for spells. You don't always get there, and it doesn't always wind up really paying out or being super fruitful for you. So we did still get a little bit of additional stats on the board, but we'll see if that is enough to turn the tides of battle. If, a huge thing will just be whether or not we get scammed by the Rotten Applewood, if we are able to hit that with the Stormweaver or the Spellweaver, or if we are able to just avoid that entirely because it is going to get pumped up by the by the Drac Saber, and actually I didn't think about that. We can just attack it before we use the, before my opponent's able to use the Dracula Saber. So my opponent looking really big right now. We are able to trade 1 for 1 there. Really awkward hits. I think that there is a chance that we are able to win that combat. We can even go back and watch it again, but we are going to wind up getting second place. So, yeah, the first combat, that is fine because we're going to, that Storm King's going to trade with anything anyways. But yeah, we lose a bunch of stats with our Storm King attacking into that Shoulder Fairies. The awkward part here is just this Gumblegore. But if that Aeon had attacked into the Shoulder Fairies instead, no, I guess we still just lose. Yeah, awkward there. That was a pretty close game. You can see like how back and forth that finals was between myself and my opponent. And there was a lot of really interesting decisions that happened that game. I think that if we'd picked up a Spellweaver or 2 earlier, that would have been really good for us. Obviously, if we were able to combine our Wizard's Familiars earlier, that also would have let us know that we were going to need another slot on the board. Maybe I forgot just that those were going to be able to combine. Didn't really get super lucky with the True Love's Kissing here as well, but honestly, I think still a pretty good game for forcing a strategy so hard that for the most part really didn't pay out for us. We, like I said, picked up those Wizard's Familiars on the second turn of the game, and we kept that pair of Wizard's Familiars up until we hit level 6. So yeah, definitely a little bit awkward from that point, but I do think that this strategy can still work, just forcing HatBall on the Hoard Dragon, and even when it doesn't work, we still wound up with a second place that was a pretty close second place. And maybe it's hard to say this didn't work because we did eventually find the HatBall, but generally what I will do with Hoard Dragon, if I am offered like a similar start to that, is either go HatBall or pivot into Sarcophagus or pivot into Treasure Map. Just kind of play it by ear a little bit with the treasures that you find. But it felt like we were so well set up for the HatBall scenario there, finding the Aeon as well. But just fell a little bit short in the end, but still had a lot of fun. I think still a pretty good showing. This was also a pretty interesting use of the round table with just a bunch of high attack minions and then giving them some free health with the round table. Wasn't really relevant for the most part because my opponent just had a bunch of Shoulder Fairies and Echo Woods, so I don't think that my health was super important because it was mostly just like which number is bigger, okay, theirs or mine. But yeah, I think it probably helped us in some capacities too there for a point. But that's going to be it for me today, guys, for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.